Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Prime on My Media Prime. We are sorry for the late start. We, however, are hopeful that we are going to have the program run normally as a program discussing what was planned for today's edition of the program, which has to do with the government's decision to call for a halt of the scheme to enforce the putting in place of the telephone tax that already has raised a lot of dust across the nation in Cameroon. We equally are going to be looking at two other topics touching on our national life with our panelists who are already in the house with us. We are in the company of Professor Mark Anthony. Good evening and welcome.
And thank you to all those million viewers watching us at this particular hour, and to my fellow panelists. And I believe it's a beautiful evening again to educate Cameroonians.
We call here in the company of George, Mr. Mofo, who is also here with us. Good evening, Mr. George, and welcome.
Thank you, and good evening to viewers and co-panelists. I just want to bring you greetings from the Catholic University Institute of Boya, from the President and the Honorable Member of Parliament in Linde, Honorable Etombi. In fact, I appreciate what you are doing this way.
Also, we are in the company of Dr. Michael Dimancho. Good evening, Doctor, and welcome to Prime this evening.
Thanks, Leonard. Today is the 19th of October. And I'm glad especially to know that back in my village in Kononi, schools started. And we are happy because this was a far cry. And we are hoping that things are going to go this way throughout the academic year, because we know that there is no meaningful fight, whatever it is, if there is no education. Thanks so much, and greetings too from the people of Buya, who are having my media prime in a very, very high esteem. Many people recognize me in Buya because of my media prime. I was so happy. So it shows how far media prime has gone, and to them is a household media.
Okay, we also are in the company of Dr. Ako John Ako, who is also a barrister at law. Good evening, Doctor.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. Once more, we are talking on Cameroon. A lot of Cameroonians believe very strongly that when we are here, we are to express our feelings and just on the opinion of issues affecting Cameroon. Nothing should be in or personal, and that Cameroon remains a state of law. It is on this basis that we are given the right to speak. And so the freedom of expression is one of the laws that has been enshrined to the 1996 Constitution, and so remain one of the primordial rule in Cameroon. We are here as opinion leaders, and again, to share opinion on what we think Cameroon should be, not what we feel the favor we receive from Cameroon.
Okay, I will start by asking your take on the decision this evening to suspend the scheme that was going to enforce the collection of taxes on telephones. This was the content of a communique, an urgent message that was given by the Secretary General at Cameroon's presidency, writing to the Secretary General at the Prime Ministry, instructing the Prime Minister to ensure that there is a suspension to the so much talked about telephone tax.
Yeah, it is not like so much talked about. We were told that by the 15th of this month, we are going to start paying telephone taxes. Cameroonians were not even informed, even at the beginning of the year, when the finance bill was voted, that there is a tax of this nature that was going to come in towards the end of the financial year 2020. All Cameroonians were surprised, but I want to equally believe that the Cameroon that we live in, we know it is not like the country is running away. They just discovered that they are going to create another home where others are will be using the same fund, maybe to amass wealth for themselves. And that the government itself, since Cameroon is never prepared, was not even willing, because when you look at it, as I said, within the time we have been talking about the smart economy, the digital economy, Cameroon has made more propaganda than what has taken place in the field. That a lot of documents to go on handling from one, how can I put it, from one ledger to another, when that can be done by a simple telephone or even buy just a small app. We still struggle to pay land tax. We still struggle to receive land certificates, which in other countries or nations is all done now online. Payment of taxes is not new. When you cross over to Rwanda, you realize that people don't pay taxes again or even custom duties in front of individuals. So where is this country where people think that we should still pay money, maybe to private accounts, because the National Treasury was supposed to be at the top of this particular platform? If it is an amount made for the customs, then the customs duties, we just need to put a quote on this particular amount of money and link to the central unit of the National Treasury, so that when you pay, a receipt is issued to you automatically. Are these measures there? The Prime Minister, the Secretary General, the President of the Republic, equally just discovered that there's going to be this vacuum. There's going to be a lacuna in the way in which this operation might be carried out. And Cameroonians, considering some of us who think...
How do you see the Secretary General when he says that he is acting on high instructions of the President of the Republic?
Yeah, you know, it is not new, Mr. Leo, when we talk of on high instruction from the head of state. It's a situation which all administrations, including, remember when we're talking of the revision of the Measure National Dialogue, the Prime Minister equally said even to convoke the commission to evaluate what they have done. He was doing so under high instruction from the head of state, meaning even though he is the president of that commission, the president still, the head of state, still need to give him instruction for him to convoke a meeting to evaluate what they have done. Everybody is telling us that all what happens in Cameroon, the leader has become an incarnate leader, a supreme leader, which all superior authority and spiritual ruling depend on him. Without his instruction, the nation Cameroon cannot advance. And I believe very strongly that it is time we take responsibility. You cannot go to school. You were in Harvard, and your friends in Harvard are doing great things in their nation and taking responsibility of what they are doing. I don't think in the United States, all those who act president in the United States are acting under high instruction from Donald Trump, because everybody believes he was appointed or recruited based on his qualifications and competence. Why in Cameroon are we lacking? I even see that a retreat by the Secretary General, the President of the Republic, equally indicated that there was equally a social tension within the youths, because I have even said those who used the apps today or the telephone today, most of them are even unemployed and trying to develop online platforms that they can easily get something from it. And now you are telling them that they should depend on the old phones, because the report given by many phone vendors has equally indicated that since this tax came into force, the business is down. Nobody even passes there to demand a phone again. Who is going to pay 30 or 33% over a new phone when the old one they can still manage? So we keep on using the second-hand phones, and then we can manage it like that. You can imagine the consequences on the general economic standard.
Okay, now the withdrawal of this law, or the suspension of this law by the President of the Republic, is it to say that those who voted for the law representing their respective constituencies did not see the badness in such a law for them to have voted it?
Mr. Leo, thank you for that question, and I want to say that is a question that has been in my mind since the very day I saw this. I've been asking this question whether those individuals whom we elected to go represent us in the parliament, when this law was being passed, they were sleeping. You see, I got a problem with it because I believe that we actually voted them to go there represent us, to be able to make sure they sanction things like that. A law that is against the people, not for the people, is a law that was not supposed to be enacted by the parliamentarians. And if the parliamentarians sat and adopted it and said it has been accepted to be a law, then there is a problem. Now that it is rather the executive, because I want to believe it was the executive that actually tabled that law, and now they are the same persons who are coming back to say, no, if we pass this law, it will be dangerous on our side. It means the parliamentarians are just there to actually sit on that table and clap their hands. That is to indicate that we do not have a parliament. And that is why on this same platform, I think yesterday I said that that parliament needs to be dissolved. Because I think over 180 persons sitting and debating on a particular law, and none of them see a problem in it.
not just them, because these laws are passed at the
both houses.
Yes.
It goes through the lower house, then to the Senate. Just imagine it went through the first and it was validated. It went through the second, it was validated, and then the president signed. Question: were they sleeping, or are they in that place just to clap their hands? Who are they representing? Is it the people, or are they representing the president of this nation? Because I always repeat this: we elected those people. That is giving them right to go and stay there for us, not for themselves. But if you look at what is happening, it proves that these individuals, these so-called individuals called parliamentarians and senators, are busy out there thinking of their stomach and clapping their hands for their so-called leader rather than the people, because they are not there by virtue of their own power. They are there by virtue of the elections of the people, implying the people through social contract gave them the audacity to go sit there, implying they have permitted them to go represent them, and to not only represent them but to stand and be their voice.
Okay.
From every indication, Mr. Leo, these people are no more representing Cameroonians, and if they are not representing Cameroonians, I think it is time for them to be ejected from that seat. That house should be dissolved.
Okay, the house should be dissolved. Judge Mr. Mufo, what, according to you, what's the spirit behind this law? Because the government will tell you, I'm sure some of the officials who took the floor ready to defend this tax will tell you that the government needs money, and that is the motive behind this tax. But when you look at the government now suspending what was going to be done in Cameroon, is it to say that there was an error in the judgment of the spirit of that law?
Thank you, Leo. I think the first thing that we have to be clear is that this is not a bill for 2020.
Yes, 2019. Yeah.
2019.
It was since 2019, and I'm sure the circumstances that has led to the law being actualized is based on the fact that probably the government is broke, or the state is broke, whichever you choose. But I think the issue here is also that, truth be told, that it is based also, I'm sure we should not forget the process of how especially the finance bill comes into the parliament and how it is also debated. The law on how bills are supposed to go through parliament, especially the finance bill, requires a certain number of days before it is actually sent for debate. But if you look at your history notes, you will discover that this duration has never ever been respected. So you find a situation where a 100 or 500 page document is sent to people to go through within a certain number of days, and you find somebody negotiating a document that is supposed to defend 300 billion in 2 hours. You start imagining, how is this humanly possible? So I think, truth be told, that if, especially, and I'm happy you just introduced one of us here as a lawyer, if up till now we have been drinking everything that comes out from Parliament as a law, it's also because somewhere the lawyers too have also failed to do their job. Because if the lawyers who are supposed to also help, especially the average person, to understand the legal intricacies and implications of a law that is going to affect all of us, they should also mobilize. I saw how they mobilized themselves when they had to get their own interests defended to a point where the government also had to rescind it. But you have to also know also that before now, the presidency has also withdrawn one of the bills that actually was voted by Parliament before now, and it is not the first of its kind. But unfortunately, it means that it might be indicating that the Parliament might not have its place, talk less of the Senate, because if they are supposed to reject, and I don't know the history of this country where when we've ever had a bill that comes from the executive that had actually been rejected. So I think this also, I'm saying that on a positive note, it tells us that at least some people are already listening and their ears are on the ground, so they are conscious and sensitive.
But what could have been, what could actually have motivated the spirit behind? Was it the wanting to increase the income of the nation to better the situation of Cameroonians, or to some extent it was ill calculated?
No, I want to say again, this is not a new law. It is just the timing. And the timing is also based on other circumstances. And that's why I'm saying that if this law was put in place when 2019, probably we wouldn't have had this hue and cry and all of that. Remember, the crisis that have actually affected us is also impacting a lot of the economic pulse of a lot of Cameroonians.
Okay, Kevin, now when a law was initiated, certainly by the executive, it goes through the legislative arm and then goes back to the executive, and the executive says there should be a relook at this law. Does it make nonsense of the legislature or legislative arm?
I would like to say that there are times I wish to say when a law is passed like that, it comes with the age and the manner in which it was taken. It seems to me as if, because we go through different bills, we get tired at one point, an important bill comes up. Since we are all tired, we just want the meeting to wrap up. We just sign it, approve it, and it goes through. So when I first of all heard about the phone tax, my reaction, I'm somebody who normally agitates or approves online on social media, on my social media accounts, but I didn't react on this phone tax because I knew from the beginning that it was a blunder and that somehow it wouldn't work. And just few days after that, government is going back doing the Bafia down steps. This is just to show us that the legislation is sleeping. The legislatures, they are all out there, but when they get to a particular moment, they turn sleepy and they approve bills that they are not actually aware of the consequences. That is why I would just tell you that they have been sleeping when it comes to some certain bills. That's why when he gets at the level of the presidency, he looks at the effects and then he says, no, this thing can't work. Because actually that phone tax wouldn't have worked. It's an open gate for corruption, even though it looks as if it's coming to bring income into the country. Because if you look at our country today, we are faced with different types of war. Boko Haram in the far north, the Anglophone crisis. That's a lot of income for the government of Cameroon to be fighting, to taking part in those wars. They need income to stay put. They need money even for the reconstruction of the northwest and southwest region. So we need money. But the step going through this direct tax, the direct tax was a wrong step, and I'm happy that they looked through it and then they decide it's a lesson. It's going to help our parliamentarians, our senators, when they go out there, when they are taking any law, they should make sure that they look at the side effects, both the negative and the positive aspects of the law before they adopt it.
Dr. Dimancho, can we, from the reaction from the presidency, say that the government acted under intense pressure from the political class and civil society in Cameroon?
Of course, yes, that played a role. And there's one of the issues that our government has always committed as a mistake time and time again. Sometimes we act before thinking on the consequences of the act. You know, the phone, I mean, is one of the tools, powerful tool of the social media. I know the most part of the population that uses the social media is the youth. And anything that touches on the youth, especially as far as spending money, income is concerned, you need to be very, very careful. You need to be very, very meticulous. And one of the things that the government has proven to us today is that they are too myopic. yes, to me, it is not bad. Phone tax is good. I mean, it is a way of bringing in income. I mean, the government needs that. Because if you even look at the kinds of the phones that come into Cameroon, for example, people who put phones in their bags from abroad and come in without declaring them and all those, and the government thought, okay, that is the best way in which they can be able to get these fraudsters and to be able to pay taxes. But I thought they targeted the wrong people to pay these taxes, because somebody will not bring his phone from abroad, comes and sells, and then it's a user that pays the price. So you see, this has come to prove also that the power of the people is more than the power of the government. The people put those in government in place, and they have the right, they have the power to be able to say no to certain things that the blunders that the government commits. I mean, it puts into question our parliament, as somebody said on the panel. Now, these parliaments who are there, who are not able to read the law and be able to analyze it and be able to say what that law, the implication of that law in 2, 3, 4 years. Remember once I talked about other countries who set goals, and 50 years goals, 100 years goals. But in Cameroon, what we do is we are too ephemeral in the way we put our things. We should tend to be perennial. Let's look at the long-term goals. If we enact this law, what is going to be the impact on the people, and especially the percentage that is built on the phone that each person is supposed to pay when you use a phone? What kind of income, what kind of economic power do the Cameroonian youths have to be able to do it, knowing that each day this is a source of distraction for the jobless population of our country? Look at the social media. People find their solace on social media because they have nothing to do. If you should have to put them this kind of bottlenecks on it, things like this, what do you expect them to do? And this actually has proven to us that the people can be able to say no to the government when a law is enacted wrongly. And I think that this is the beginning of something. I was reading somebody yesterday, Patrice Lumumba, the renowned Kenyan professor, and who said this is a wind of change that is coming. I mean, like what is happening in Nigeria, is coming to Cameroon. And I think that is a trigger. This is just a trigger that the people can be able to say no. And from this no, something meaningful is going to do. We are still at the level of illusion. They are going to incarnate this. It's going to be practical life. And tomorrow you find, better things coming, and Cameroonians will take a stand on what they actually want to be in their country.
Okay, yeah. Yes, you see, a lot of us are adding on the parliament, and that whatsoever. If you ask a Cameroonian who is a parliamentarian, what does it take for you to become a member of parliament?
And what their role is.
And what their role is. And the only thing for you to be a member of parliament is to pay a caution, 5 million, and you participate in the election. And you can imagine the group of heads of people that we vote to represent us. At the end, the law of that nature is voted. We have never seen a bill in Cameroon that was sent back to the executive and that the Cameroon parliament has refused to vote. You see, SDF will act is one-man show. At the end, they might walk out or stay in, then the vote will still pass because by party discipline, because we are not ruling Cameroon based on the laws of the land, we are ruling Cameroon based on the rules of the party. And so if the party is a majority party, it doesn't happen like we have seen of recent in the next US election. Members of Republican are de-associating from the party in which they belong. In Cameroon, it's difficult. The moment you do it, you are just a life prisoner. And that becomes the problem, that you have opposed the party. A lot of people, more than 89, were sanctioned last time for violating party rules within the level of the party, because they feel that they should not behave or adhere to that same old outdated system. If we need to look at the quality of the laws, we need to look at the quality of the parliament and those who make up the laws. Like my fellow panelist said, that if we have to get into the law, let's be capable of knowing what is there. On the side of the lawyers, how many times lawyers have been flogged by common police officers in Cameroon for telling you that your harder law was supposed to be translated in English, even though there is an article in the constitution stating that Cameroon will never be a member of an international organization. Cameroon will not be a member of any document or treaty that cannot be officially promoted in both English and French. When they came out, they were flogged. That is the military regime in which we live. So when you look even throughout, what system of education, those who are there, going refined system, today we are having the rules and the laws of courses like ethics and morality being taught But at what level? How many people attend those classes of ethics? Those who become mathematics teachers, who become parliamentarians, were they taught these courses? It might have been taught at the Faculty of Law or other domains. What of those who do geography that are now parliamentarian? What have become of their character? So they defend their party and nothing else. These are some of the consequences. When a law comes like this one, it is time also for a country to see into it that the nation, the people can think, the people can talk, and at times, most often than not, the people are right. That's what we find in 2008 when Cameroonians came out for high cost of living. Government sent the same military, some people were flogged, some were arrested, but I was shocked and embarrassed that few weeks after, the head of state passed a lot of decrees reducing the prices of basic commodities. We don't even know if those prices are still at the same level how they were signed in 2008, or the prices have even changed, including the same price of fuel. That was part and parcel of that particular decision.
Okay, Professor Mark Anthony, is the government itself not taken caught in its own trap for failing to explain this law? Though Judge Moffo claims that lawyers were supposed to do the explanation. The MPs voted this law in 2019. What stopped them from preparing, educating Cameroonians before now? Because everybody learned about this law just, I'm sure, 2 weeks ago. For a law that was voted in
December
2019. Yes.
Mr. Leo, when we have secretaries who become parliamentarians, you do not expect more than this kind of result. And asking that question, I want to say it is supposed to be the duty not only of the parliamentarians to actually educate Cameroonians on what they sit there to actually sign or debate on. It is supposed to be the duty of the executive which actually proposes the laws. They are supposed to take it upon them to make sure that if a law has been proposed and it has been adopted and enacted by the president, then they should take that responsibility to educate Cameroonians. The parliamentarians whom are my greatest concern are those whom we actually said go and represent us, implying it is their duty to make sure every law that is coming to their table to debate on, they are supposed to go word after word to be able to know what they are signing. And after that, if they think it is not favorable with the citizens, then they should reject it. But if they go in there and look at what comes to their table, sign it, that's to make you understand there is lack of competency in the persons that we actually elect to go sit there, because we have a problem with the ability of choosing people to represent us. Most of the times, even those whom the people want that should be their representatives end up being ejected by the party, and at the end of the day we end up with persons who do not have the capability to represent us because of their incompetency. And that is the issue why you will find it difficult for them to step out to educate. They cannot educate.
Did they really understand the intricacies, the implication of the law they voted for?
That is what I'm saying. They did not understand, so they cannot even educate us about it. They never understood. Most of them sat there. I had to give them actually presenting a point that some of them get there with tiredness. At the end of the day, they just validate whatever comes before them. It is not just because they are tired. It is because they are in there to actually play the hand clapping game. They go in there to validate whatsoever comes before them from the president. They are not there to represent the people.
Yeah, but what is the implication for this law to be suspended coming out of the National Assembly? Is this not a clear proof that it is the executive that is managing everything, and that the National Assembly is just answerable to the executive?
You see, again, let us also play our citizen role here. There's a responsibility that is shared here, whereby if you listen to most times when those local administrators are being installed, they are asked to respect the laws and also ensure that the laws are respected, or you have even some people who are paid every month end because they call themselves law enforcement officers. So it's asking yourself which are those laws that they are enforcing. And again, there is also a missing link here, and you now see now for the first time they have come in here, the people they call the members of the civil society. Because when you see what has actually happened now, it is thanks to the civil society, the common man out there that has actually stood up. And I actually watched or saw some of the reactions on social media, and some of the personalities behind it was beyond political party or the people whom we expect to be defending us. You just made mention of something here which it couldn't have been otherwise. Normally, in a very structured environment, parliamentarians should have what they call a parliamentary office, where the average citizen can actually go there, or they could have, or normally also a parliamentarian should have experts, because we don't expect an individual parliamentarian to be a superhuman being.
Well, that knows it all.
He is supposed, or she is supposed to be getting his own small cabinet or our own small cabinet, whereby when such a thing happens, they should be able to do a reading and then advise him or her on what position to take. But I have told you, it's just like November is still coming. The same persons will be going again to go and do the same process. Watch, at what time would the finance bill be coming to Parliament for debate? It will be coming 2 weeks to the end of the session. And in those 2 weeks, they will be expected, whether the money is even 1 billion. You know, somebody has made this about Africa. He said the World Bank people, whenever they know they are going to an Asian country to go and negotiate a contract or a loan, they find it they are very uncomfortable because it will take them about 1 month to agree. The stakeholders will ensure that the interest of the country is actually well taken care of. But they say when they know that they are coming to Africa, they just know that they are going for a safari trip, because they will take whether it's less than 1 hour and the document will go through and they will sign their document and they will even get kickbacks out of those things. This is an image that they give about Africa from the World Bank. But you still find that they are still pumping the monies there, and you see with all the wealth and all the what we have, we still have the merry-go-round. And I want to just say that without being desperate or hopeless, we should now rather encourage the civil society now, because when we say, okay, the parliamentarians are where they are, what they are, it is all based on the fact that probably when you look at our what they call electoral register, most Cameroonians don't go to register, so you get whom you deserve because there is a vacuum about that. At this point in time, let us give it to them and wait for another 5 years, but let the civil society take up now the vacuum, that the irresponsibility that they vote bills without actually going to the details, and let the civil society sit up. I think that will be my take within this. But the responsibility now is that even now that the government has just suspended the law, there should still be a strict watch out, because this might not be the last. Whatever that is happening, you might still find other laws which were kept at abeyance. They were waiting for the environment to be suitable for them to just shoot it out. So the civil society should sit up now and know that their voices now are being heard right from the highest level of leadership in this country, and ensure that they should keep on putting the pressure on.
Given Brenda, at the announcement of the coming to force of this law, we understand that many government officials, amongst others, came before television platforms to defend this law, to see how good the law was, how justified the law was. What were they defending, and have they just been disproved by the government?
Most of their defenses were inaccurate, and then there was no it was always somebody saying this to back up this, and then the other person saying some other thing to back up the very point. And then I used to hear somebody who say phones which get into the United States are being paid. You know, they pay taxes in the United States. Why would they not pay same taxes in Cameroon? And some people say Cameroonians are evading the tax. You know, all of those things. But when you look at it, the weight is on the local person, the local man on the street. And that is why we had this mobilization on social media, where you even saw a comedian like Danny Green who came out on TikTok denouncing this phone tax, and also the hashtag #endphone tax on Twitter. It was really a hot beat, and when there was never anything convincing of what they put to consumers out there, and that's why people still came up and protested against this phone tax. I would even like to say that if government takes a decision, if the parliament takes a decision, let a member of the house come out and explain why this decision was taken and how they intend to make the country better with the process that they gained from this decision. Not that a minister comes up to defend something that he doesn't actually understand. We bring up people who just talk because they want to talk, because that they're in a position where they must defend everything that the government says is everything the government says is gospel. They just want to defend it. So government communication strategy, I keep saying it, is too poor. It's poor to the extent that any Jack and Jill can sit and talk on behalf of the government and defend whichever bill that is being passed in Parliament. About the parliamentarians that we've voted, that's why I keep saying I blame us sometimes, because you cannot sit back, you don't register, you don't vote, and then you come again tomorrow, you're condemning your representatives. Is that your representative? You didn't vote for that representative. You didn't vote. You didn't get that person in place, and you're saying that you're complaining. You're complaining. Why are you complaining now? What were you when people were voting? So that's always my problem with us looking at criticizing some of these parliamentarians when we don't even take part in elections. I know some people say elections this, elections that, but Mr. Mofo will never agree with me.
Okay, is this also, Dr. Michael, is this an acceptance of failure by government?
Well, the government would never always say that it's a failure, and I will not think that it's a failure. It is rather a kind of a consideration for the people. And this is what we expect from a government, from a meaningful government. A government that has a listening ear. It is not, I mean, when the people cry, the government listens. It's not as if the government is weak. It is rather because the government is strong, and the government is valorizing the people whom they are serving. And I think that we shouldn't think that the Cameroon government, in this perspective, rather it should be a good beginning for us in Cameroon to think that we are not living a dictatorship where somebody just sits somewhere and think that you can just throw anything into the parliament, and then they vote what they are voting, and then they enact, and it goes into, I mean, irrespective of what the people are thinking. I think that from the lowest person down there in that lowest village down there, up right down to Yaoundé, it shouldn't be like somebody said, when Yaoundé is fine, all the other places. I mean, every person should be important. And in this regard too, I was thinking about this issue of the phone tax. You know, in other countries like the US, it is accepted because we have producers of phones in the US, and they said consume local products. I mean, people cannot argue if they tax phones that are coming into the country. But in Cameroon, we don't have any alternative. The only thing, we are at the mercy of these things that are coming out of the country, and therefore we are bound to be able to be sure that our means reach those. They are affordable. I mean, it is at our reach, and therefore the Cameroonian people have a responsibility to be able to know and to accept that this is what the government wants for them is what actually they themselves can be able to. Because, I mean, one of the primary rules of the government is the welfare of the people. And I keep on talking about this. It's the welfare of the people. If the government is not serving the people, then that government, I don't think, is not for the people. And that's why the local definition of democracy, the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. There is a local definition of democracy, which of course is supposed to work for us. And that is what that person down there right in that village knows. And therefore, when it happens the way it has happened, then we see this definition, the meaning, really the true meaning of it coming into play. We have even talked about the issues of parliamentarians that we don't vote or people don't register. I think, of course, yes, we do not vote. Or I mean, elections in Cameroon, I don't want to say it's a sham, but we know how it happens. You know, and I want to look at it another way. Even the president of the Republic of Cameroon, when you don't vote for him, for example, a party, an opposition party, when you don't vote for him, and he at the end he wins, he remains the president of the whole country. He wouldn't say it's because you didn't vote for me that I'm not going to serve your interest. So these parliamentarians, they should also know that if people didn't vote for them, if they went through the way they went through, they are still going to serve the people. I mean, at the end of it all, they are not supposed to think that because my constituency is primarily an opposition or whatsoever, and I use my own means to be where I am, I just have to lie on my laurel and then go chasing contracts in Yaoundé. I think that is not the primary goal of parliamentarian. It's to represent the views of the people. And it is unfortunate that when these laws like this are enacted, or when they present bills like this, they do not talk about their implementability. That's what I think that is lacking. Sometimes they just put blanket laws, and then they do not know how these laws are going to be implemented. And we cannot blame those who vote the law because it is in good faith. The tax law is in good faith. But then, how was it going to be implemented was supposed to really be the problem. And that was the point of concern. Now, they didn't look into that. Now the implementation has come and it has not favored anybody. And now all of us have to cry foul.
Now, and that's why crying foul, can we say that there was a problem, definite problem with the law, and also that the government was led into error by the persons that came up with this method of getting money from Cameroonians through the phone tax? And should these persons be called to explain why they brought the government into error?
Yeah, it is not an error. If we are told that it was part of the budgetary bill for 2020, I believe the error is executive error. When it was introduced, you see the two ministers that are concerned there, you find that of telecommunication and the Minister of Finance. And so you mean that the whole ministry plus that of telecommunication, they all play foul game. With the foul games in Cameroon, we just simply need to understand that the law has been withdrawn. But then, how do we take into consideration? In many developed states, before a law which is pertinent, that touches on the life of citizens, they go out what we call circulars. And at times they start with a yellow paper. These laws are written on small booklet and circulated throughout the nations. Throughout the nation. So that every civil society actor can give his opinion. Give his opinion. They will go take this law back, they revise it, they make a final bill. After it moves from green to yellow, when it comes out from the yellow paper, it goes to the white paper before becoming a law. But in Cameroon, as I'm saying, since our government is a tax economy in the sense that it is only in Cameroon that I've noticed that since I was born, things don't drop from the day you were born. Prices of things instead go up. I was shocked that the bubble I bought for 15 years ago, now you buy the same bubble at 125 francs, and I asked what has happened to cassava. When you look at a sheet of zinc that was bought at 1,500 some 10 years ago, today a sheet of zinc is at 4,000. Are we receiving any explanation that when we look at goods coming abroad, what has happened? A bag of rice that we used to buy maybe at 5,000 from Europe, they are continuously going down. When we used to watch television through neighboring houses, through the window, now the television is accessible to every home. A DVD was looked upon, not the normal deck that we used to rule at 20,000, 25,000. DVD was reserved for the rich. All goods come. What of cars? So what is happening to Cameroon? Prices of fuel, oil, drops in nearby nations like Nigeria. In Cameroon, we are being told that Cameroon economy does not function with the influence of the international economy. So prices are going down abroad in Cameroon as are instead going up. So you find 25 francs, 50 francs being added every day. How do you expect us to solve the unemployment problem? Because the moment taxes are dropping, it encourages foreign direct investment. Investors will come to such a nation because the means of production will be cheap. And then what happens to the consumer? The prices will be low, and the consumer will be forced to do what? To consume more. So that's why the guys changes their cars every day. They can build their cars still on daily basis because the prices of these basic commodities are down.
Okay.
So what is happening? The government must take responsibility to make sure that the quality, and depend on the quality of those we vote as parliamentarians. And then we stop this aspect of party discipline. A Cameroonian is based or voted to serve a nation, not an individual group.
Okay.
That is it.
Mr. Liu, I love nearly all your debates on my Media Prime TV. If leaders in Cameroon were willing to learn, I think most could have done so through your TV channel. Eno Obenson is writing from Bamenda. Hello, Mr. Liu. Good evening to you all on board. Please, I would like to know how can we pay phone tax when there is no phone producing company in Cameroon? How can you buy something and be the one to pay the tax instead of the person selling? I'm Silas, writing from Douala. Good evening, Mr. Leo and your team. I like your program. This is Pa John from Boya. Just want to tell you our parliamentarians are being appointed, not voted. You people should stay blessed. Thank you. Good evening to all in the studio. I think it is time for all those people who still put on no, it's not good. Good evening to everyone there in the studio. Mr. Liu, at this time I'm just confused. I'm Prosper, writing from Yaoundé. Greetings. The only person which we have ever had that goes down because his people were killed on daily basis. Honorable Joseph Weber by Richard Egbe. Okay, I don't know what you want to say, Egbe. This one says, hello, good evening. It's Betika from Limbe. The issue of manipulating phones should have limits. The youth spend more time on phones than what they need to do with it. Okay. Mr. Liu and the team, good evening. When jumping, you must know where to fall and not to jump without knowing where to fall, as seen in the phone tax. Nivik, writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The cancellation of tax tells you how disorganized our nation is. Since the President of the Republic is missing in action, others take unpopular decisions that will plunge this nation into more crisis. Orok is writing from Kumba. Good evening, I'm Ekan Simon. I see the government has expired. Let them go in Jesus' name. Okay. Good evening. Great TV and the well-selected team. Parliament with sleeping or retired minds has never rejected a bill from government. The master must be satisfied. Okay. Good evening, sir. We don't have lawmakers in Cameroon. Good evening, Mr. Liu and crew. Mr. Paul Biya just did the right thing, and the customs should sit up and stop corruption in this country. Manyaka is writing from Limbe. Okay, we take a short break. When we come back, we discuss our second topic for tonight. Welcome back. You're watching Prime Hour on my Media Prime. This time around, we are going to be looking at the concept of regional balance as applied in Cameroon. How effective has it been, and how has it pushed the development agenda of Cameroon forward? I'll start with you, Professor Mark Anthony. What could be the motivation for the implementation of this concept called regional balance in Cameroon?
Mr. Leo, the idea behind that policy was for the sake of the unity and integration of the nation. And so far, we have been able to see that that particular policy of regional balance is a failed policy, because it has not been able to give anything solid to Cameroonians, and it has not been able to unite Cameroonians. Neither has it been able to integrate Cameroon. And as a result of that, I think that particular policy would have been eliminated. You know, it came when the Minister of, I think, Civil Administration, something like that, Civil Work, in 1982 actually signed that decree and was strengthened in 1992, empowering balance when it comes to civil institutions where most of Cameroonians are actually being taken through exams. Where meritocracy is supposed to be at the top, they decided to use regional balance, but at the end of the day, the regional balance is failing. I want to cite a situation that just happened of recent in Enam, which has been one of the reasons why I think Cameroonians should have actually stood up and spoken. And I'm surprised that even to today, some of the so-called elites that we have not been able to speak, where even the regional balance policy was disrespected, where 2 regions produced 96% of the total intake into Enam. And the rest of the 8 regions comes up with 24%, where the Northwest and Southwest put together have just 4%. That to me does not prove that that regional balance is actually effective, and they have not put it into play in that case, because when you look at that particular decree, it shows that the Northwest was supposed to produce, I think, about 13%, the Southwest about 8%, and when you go to the Marwa, the far north was supposed to produce about 18%, and central region was supposed to produce 15%. But once you look at it, the central south region have given 76%. That is to show you that there is total imbalance. There was no consideration of that particular policy.
They are using the case of the recent
Enam exams that took place. That's to show that that policy, first of all, was not into play, and secondly, when you look at the situation at hand, you discover that there is no possibility of that particular policy to work. There is need for meritocracy to be at the top, where the best students are actually taken into these institutions so that they can give us the best in our nation. We need credence. We need the persons who are actually capable, not people because we want to let's say bribe some individuals or maybe give something to some particular individuals to balance things. That's not what we need.
Okay,
leadership
Judge,
does not go like that.
Judge Mr. Mufo, you think like Professor Mark Anthony that meritocracy should override the concept of regional balance in Cameroon? That is, if we have 100 best candidates from the center alone, they go through without giving opportunity for persons from the different regions in Cameroon to also have access to some of this, what is called in French, les grands écoles.
Well, it's a bit tricky there. That is a tall other question which I will not take a risk to answer yes, no. But again, what is happening here is an issue of statecraft, especially involving all its citizens to benefit from state institutions. And again, you see, probably, I don't know why this year is particular, probably because of the fact that another civil society activist this time decided to bring it out to the fore because he found himself in a scenario where he had the facts and figures to advocate that where he is coming from has actually not, because there is one thing actually enacting the concepts, and then there's another thing also respecting it. Now, if you imagine a scenario whereby 24,000 persons are going in for less than 500 positions, and you start asking yourself, where are all of these persons coming from? They are all Cameroonians. But now, in terms now, when you listen to the defense or the explanation from the Ministry of Public Service, whereby he was actually justifying to answer to the particular person who raised the issue, when he said, no doubt the Grand North, they were supposed to have 30% of the they were supposed to have 30% of the candidates who were actually selected finally. By the end of the day, the minister said the 28% who were actually selected from the Grand North were based on merit, because the 2% that they had to reapportion to other regions was because the quota allocated did not fulfill, the candidates did not fulfill to be to complete the 30% because they did not meet the minimum requirement intellectually. So you now see logic and illogic into play, because at one point they are enacting a law, at another point they are also watering it down with an argument which is more of an explanation of not respecting the law. And here I just would have wished also, Leo, there was a one time in this country, and this did not raise any hue and cry, because that same far north, when they just opened the ENS Marwa, the same elites this time, they jumped up and said every person from Grand North who writes the exam should be admitted. It
was out of a reaction after the publication of results, also, and, like what we are seeing now.
And behold, the government acquiesced to that, and they got their take at all of those things. So I don't know whether we are going to also say whether there was merit at that time, because we are asking the question whether regional balance and where is the place of meritocracy and the rest. You see, it's a very funny scenario. At one point you are trying to sympathize, another point you are trying to be indifferent, but again it is like the situation is, I think, Leo, you would have also known that there are other schools in this country, especially Polytech, where you will go there, you actually find that the same ratio, but this time most people will not cry because people don't even register the exams. You will find a scenario where you will actually find that in called Polytech, you will find probably 90% are from one region.
From the West region.
I didn't call a region, that's their
from
responsibility.
The West region.
So at that time, people don't cry so much about, you start asking yourself, but why Enam? And you start looking at what happens with our daily lives. You should be able to answer the question, why Enam?
Okay, you have lived and covered stories about regional balance in Cameroon. How effective is it implemented in Cameroon? Because it is so dear to the national policy of national unity, national integration of this nation.
I would like to go with him being on one hand possible, on another hand it is still,
they are confused also.
It is still far-fetched. Far-fetched because when we look at the recent exams, like the ENAM exams I just talked about, you look at the regional balance policy, which wasn't really applicable at this level. On the other hand, if you have 20 candidates and you say you require 17 on 20 for somebody to actually succeed in this examination, because of regional balance, you're not going to pick somebody who has 9 from another region or 5 because you want to make it balanced. So that's why I would say at one point it is okay, at another point it is still far-fetched. But majority, since we're talking about, when I write my history essays, I would like to end. At the end of the day, you see that the concept is still lacking, and there's a lot that has to be done to ensure that this policy is actually respected since 1996. Since it was 1996, yes, and we have to actually do everything possible to respect this. And why the focus on ENAM, by the way? ENAM, ENS, we are desperate. We need jobs. We need direct recruitment. That's why people go for these examinations. Because some of these concourse, when you come out, you still have to look for a way to get recruitment. But those are direct recruitments we're talking about. That's why people all fight to be fitted in these schools. So we cannot blame our population. And just to say that government needs to work to learn to institute some of its policies. They should not only institute those that favor them, they should institute those that favor the local population, because they are voted into those positions by these people. My fear is that when it comes to a law that favors the government, that is when you're told that you have broken the law. When it comes to its responsibility, it fails to sit up to all the things that it has promised that it was going to look into. That's my problem with our government.
That's your problem with the government. Dr. Michael Dimancho, who is thwarting the full implementation of this concept or policy in Cameroon?
It is that idea of the national cake, you know, essentially, where you think that you come from this region, you are supposed to represent your people, and representing your people is not by words of mouth, it's by what you give them. You know, we Africans, we have a policy, that policy of communalism, whereby when you are somewhere else, you know that you have to change the life of your people. And therefore, when you don't belong to this circle, remember there's a musician who sings, who sings Ma vie a changé, parce que mon frère est nommé. And that song has a lot of meaning in the geopolitics in Cameroon. So we need to be very, very careful about that. And that is why you see that when ministers are appointed, they do what we call homecoming. That homecoming is to come and tell their people, yes, this is our time. We also have to eat. That was the issue of homecoming. Until the thing became so pronounced. At one moment they saw that it was pronounced and they started reducing it. Now let me remind you that in the early 60s, when we were still, only one man was still teaching. Just after independence, during independence, one man, we were still learning how to read and write. It was pride for us to hear that somebody say Yaoundé who is going far in something, and we clap for the person, and we got more and more enlightened about what this thing is all about, what politics is all about. Everything. Football now even left from what we call a spectacle, because people went to the football field to watch football as spectacle. Now football is no more that. Now you find that football is now about money making, and politics has gotten into it also. So the issue of regional balance is very, very complicated, especially in issue in Cameroon, where we have about 300 different tribes, or different language, or different region. You know, the geographical divisions of Cameroon is very, very complicated. Added with our historical legacy, which is the languages that we have acquired from the colonial master, the English, and I remind you that even the Anglophone crisis that we have today is a brainchild of that issue of the regional balance. We need to be very careful. People have become so sensitive to that, because you realize that if you are not represented in the power sharing in Yaoundé, your people will never ever have anything. And that's why you find people writing motions of support. You sit and write motions of support. Why? It is not from your heart. It is not from your conscience. But you are writing because you think that by glorifying somebody somewhere, and there is always somebody to take these motions of support to where it is supposed to go. And woe betide that your village that does not have somebody whom they can project and take this one to get to where this motion is supposed to be. Now look at what happens even in appointment. When a minister is dethroned from a particular village or region or division, another person is taken from that very. You see, there is this issue of it's all about this issue of the national cake, and people brings about people fighting and whatsoever. So we have come to the issue also of education, but we wanted this to be something of national cohesion. You know, like Prof said, Magatoni said, it was the reason for national cohesion, but we have sacrificed merit to that national cohesion. We have sacrificed merit to that national cohesion, and that's not what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to do it wisely. Yes, it is true that every village, we shouldn't give development to one village, because education, when it comes to education and appointment, it is development for the particular village. But we have to do it wisely. We shouldn't leave other villages behind. But there is a way we should do it. But when you come in a single batch of students of a particular renowned school, renowned in quote, because that renown is in terms of what those students come out to be. Even they do it, in a very, very whimsical way. If students of a particular batch, and you have that there are people who come from the same family, from the same village, and who are dominating even people from a particular region, then it calls to question. And then you ask yourself whether these people were so much blessed I mean, they were much more intelligent than the other people in other areas or what is actually happening. And that is why we are appealing on the consciences of the people that are, that to say that this issue of regional balance was to be for education, to actually make sure that we get people educated in every village. Okay. Development should be in every village. If you, I mean, if you are awarding contract or whatsoever, it should be in every village. And,
maybe so the guys were as blessed in knowledge and wisdom like the Israelites were. We know the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and yes, and Daniel. So yes, so maybe they were blessed like that. Andrin Atemebako says change must not come from the government. Change can as well come from us. We all are responsible to build this nation. Mr. Kum, anyone who still blames the government is by himself to be blamed. Change must not come from the top. The government must not be the head for change to come to Cameroon. What do we do as citizens of this country to build it in the spirit of and light of us, so change can come from us equally as it can come from the government? Blaming the government is just offering no solution. Always easy to blame the government and not see we are the true government. Andrew Atemibako, good evening to you. Now, regional balance. When we say regional balance, mostly has to do with gaining access to these big schools like Grands Écoles, and not considering regional balance from the perspective of budgetary allocations according to the regions. Are we not missing the point? Because during the last budgetary session, we saw a division in the South region that had greater budgets than two regions put together. Should the regional balance not be reflected more in the allocation of these resources?
Yeah, I will first of all like to clarify a point that the concept regional balance is a social policy, which goes more with socialist systems that Cameroon borrowed even during the days of Ayijo to appease a lot of people when it comes for demands of positions or whatsoever. It was not even the problem of exams. And when we get into the policy of regionalization to give better positions to everybody, we equally indicated that there has been a failure for a national concern. Meaning people have failed to belong to the general nation, to the national state, and they want to belong to their region. And in an effort to give to all, we realize that we cement instead the relationship among regions. And if we have to cement the relationship among regions, I'm telling you that the consequences are going further again. There is the development of the new elite. When the elite developed, like he explained, is that the elite will start faring to fit their own various regions. And what have you created? There will always be that point that those who have the stronger elite will fight more for their regions. This is what we're finding in Cameroon. Again, when you find a bent democracy in a bent democratic system where things cannot be done in the ordinary way, where there is the absence of equity, equality, and justice, these are some of the consequences. We start bringing policies like regional balance to create, when people are appointed, not based on their career, they are instead appointed based on their relationship to whosoever or the state. These are the issues that have put these particular policies into question and has created a lot of problems. When we come to Cameroon, you realize today that in promoting the elites, 2 or 3 regions have become more powerful when we talk of elitism. And so what do you think? What will be the results? It produces this particular consequences we are facing here. At the NAM, I will tell you that what he did, what the director of the NAM after the publication, his effort was saluted by the CPDM party. A communique from that party appreciated what the director has done. And the ministers equally explained, meaning they were justifying why that happened, because it was not just the director, the Minister of Public Service was equally aware of what was published, which gives us an idea that Cameroonians, some of us have cried here several times, if you work as a Cameroonian, give Cameroonians the intention, the mind to feel that they all belong to the same nation, not to a particular region. After this, what has created? You realize that there is already an aspect of tribalism or ethnicity, which means one ethnic group or one tribe is going above the other. And I mean, the consequences are enormous. We might not be listing them here. When it comes to this level, us as Cameroonians will mean that absolute power corrupts absolutely. 38 years might have equally favored one tribe against the other tribes. What is the way out? The way out is that we need to make a total overhaul. We need to rejuvenate the system. That is why you see the turbulence. I call all what we call phone tax, Anglophone crisis, come to rise to power or whatsoever. You realize that there are the turbulence of a system that has been instituted in place for so long, but the foundation is now very jerky. The foundation has become very fragile, that the government itself does not even know what to do. Thank God, like people have said several times, that we have a stronger military. I don't know whether there's a difference between a legitimate military and a stronger military, but in Cameroon, we believe that the stronger military is the one that maintains power in Cameroon at any time. They will be to put, remember when you see the National Day celebration in Cameroon, is that military, peace, order, and security in Cameroon. And so the military is doing excessively. At the level, please let me conclude, where we are in Cameroon today, if care is not taken, we have stopped the phone tax. But I am still saying very strongly, something will pull down the whole system.
Something will or may, I don't know whether you're a prophet now. Now let's look at regional balance at the level of budgetary allocations. Is that not where we should see the veritable goodwill of the government in play?
Mr. Leo, I believe that policies can shift, but what makes good policies effective is good leadership. And once leadership is not competent enough, policies will mislead the nation. And practically, a leadership that believes in monopoly of knowledge and wisdom will practically lead the nation into chaos. When we are looking at the situation of Cameroon at this particular moment, you just use the beep of 2020, where it's not even a region, one division in a particular region had a budget that bypasses that of two different regions. That already gives you the understanding that there is something that is happening, like Dr. Ako actually rightly said, when one particular ethnic group or tribe stays in power, like it has been for over 38 years, it empowers that particular tribe to think that they have become the gods and more Cameroonians than any other. And so they want to grab the greater share of the cake and make sure they empower their kids as to be able to replace them as time progresses. When I saw that particular budget, I got so disturbed. But at that time, the crisis and the elections put together was actually what was the talk of the season. I think we didn't take enough time to talk about that budget. And Mr. Leo, I would say, when we come back to the same policy, like Dr. Ako said, it's a social policy. Look at it. They placed two regions 20%. But this 20% in the present examination became 4%. Look at the north, the far north, let's say the grand north, which covers 30%. When you look at what was apportioned to them, you start asking questions. Where are we heading to? What is the outcome of this? It seems so clear to us that a particular region is making sure that they empower not only the region but the tribe to become powerful enough to make sure the nation remains in their hands. And that is one of the things that, as a concerned Cameroonian and a patriotic Cameroonian, we should all stand to talk against it, because it is leading Cameroon into chaos. And until something is done about it as fast as possible, we might be getting into something that will end up making Cameroon to enter into a place where we will not be able to gather it again. So I think it is very important that
regional balance should be reflected. It should be reflected in the budgeting. Okay, George, Mr. Mufo, how has regional balance helped to develop the 10 regions of Cameroon? Have we seen the regions, the developmental agenda of this nation being put into efficient use because the government is using this concept of regional balance?
Again, you are going to one of those concepts which is also floundered and floated haphazardly. Development, rightly or wrongly, if you come from a sociological background, you would have understood, especially in political sociology, where you would understand why the person who is the leader at that point in time of a nation will determine which part of the direction of the greater part of the cake. But I just remind us, without justifying the current injustices that we are seemingly talking about, that when Aidjo was the president, some Cameroonians transformed themselves from Christians to Muslims. It was not because they actually loved to take the Muslim faith. It was because to them they were more identified with a Muslim leader at that time, and so some of them even delivered their children from Christian home, but they gave them Muslim names, even while maintaining their Christianity. Now, in political science, they will call that clientelism or patrimonialism. You know, clientelism, they give you, a politician gives you something because anticipating that during electionary time, you are going to have a clientele base of people who will give you the vote and those type of things. The bad news I have for especially the current geopolitics in Cameroon is that even though we seemingly have seen that the injustice is going to where you cannot create human beings because the population density of that area is very, very small, and it tells you that even if you educate or give all the monies to those people, for those of us who have traveled the whole of this country, the 10 regions, and go to some of those villages, you would have understood that you just ask the question, has regional balance actually helped in the development of Cameroon? You will find the paradox that instead, some of the regions that even have what is coming from the national cake, they are even more developed than those regions which are being quote-unquote favored from the central government. So I think, again, let us say that we are not encouraging such blatant injustice. But you see, we are moving now even towards another region, another stage of this country where you will find meritocracy is going to come now from what they call special status and unspecial status. Because if they say some other regions have special status, we have not also questioned where the regional balance, because the other people have also been asking why they also give all the 10 regions special status. But that is how politicians juggle with their concepts, and then at the end of the day, boomerang and falls back on us. The question here is, can some other person develop you more than yourself? I leave that for the viewers to answer.
Okay. When Prof. Lambi wanted to practice meritocracy, what happened to him? So there is nothing like that in Cameroon. Ambolo Judune, writing from Boya. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I love this program. I want to appreciate everybody in your team, but much goes to Professor Anthony. He does not mix his words. More grace to you. Marie is writing from Limbe. Good evening to you, Marie. Good evening, Mr. Liu and panelists. Takang, writing from Tico. Your program is an eye-opener for Cameroonians. Please let me tell the lady on the panel that voting has never reflected Cameroonians' mind, and ENAM is the biggest tool that has damaged the kangaroo government. And again, we don't have parliamentarians. Thanks for the good job you guys are doing. Unfortunately, those who are to listen have cotton in their ears. Be blessed. Blessed to you too. Hello, good evening to all. Mbingo from Yaoundé, from the data debate on regional balance concerning the results of the ENAM. Did everyone actually found out that the number of people who registered for the exams per region before criticizing the percentage per region? Good evening to all in the panel. Special greetings to Dr. Ako. It's Adolf writing from the United Arab Emirates. Good evening, Mr. Liu and crew. Why is it that children write concours into agricultural schools, Bambili? After graduating, they are still writing concours to look for job. Nick Charles writing from Tico. Good evening. Thanks for the program. The halt to the telephone tax scheme is laudable. Fombi Michael in Bomenda, say hi to George. Okay, he's gotten you. Please, greetings to everyone. Thanks for educating Cameroonians. Atem from Arlington City, Dallas, Texas. Please, students should be taken from university according to merit and close all those nonsense schools. Greetings, Mr. Liu and all your members. I'm Julius writing from Bafut. The decision taken by the government on the 33% tax on telephone was too harsh and heavy on the gadget, and now the tax have been halted. For me, I think the present government regime is really confused on what they are doing. What a shame. Good evening, Mr. Leo. You guys should keep up, but know that we do not have a parliament. The CPDM system cannot do us any good. This is not the first time. Prince is writing from Bangem. I am Ndotiju from Ekona. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the crew. The halt on the taxes on the phones was enacted without a second thought. Few days after, when the private media debated on it, it caused the regime to realize the law was inflicting more problems to the state. Okay, good evening, Mr. Liu. I appreciate your good work, but wish to also know the proprietor of my Media Prime TV, because 99% of the programs are in English. Ngole Hene is writing from Limbe, Ngole. You can find that out after this program. I won't say it here. Yeah. Kevin Brenda. How do we understand that almost everybody says that regional balance is not being respected? Because if you go to some sectors in Cameroon where the workers graduate from ENAM, we discover that the greater proportion are from specific regions of this country, which means that regional balance may not have been respected for decades today, and seemingly nobody is talking about it. Elites, traditional authorities from other regions have condoned this for so long. Why?
The system we have now has turned into a songbird, and people turn to praise even what is not supposed to be praised. I remember when the Anglophone crisis started, there are some people who went on air and said there is no Anglophone crisis. And when President Paul Biya said there was an Anglophone crisis, that's when those people went back and said there is an Anglophone crisis. So there are some people who know that this is wrong, but they don't want to talk. They are waiting for the overall boss to speak out, to make a step for them to start doing motion of support here and there, criticizing. Traditional authorities too, that's why when you see people attacking traditional authorities, it's because they believe that they're at one position where they can raise their voices and talk on behalf of the people. But when you see these traditional authorities going and attending meetings and they don't bring out some of these issues, that's when people get concerned and say, but why do you meet these people? What do you actually discuss with them if you cannot tell them, this is how we feel, this is how we feel, there is no equality, it is actually not balanced. And it's as well, I keep saying, it's for personal gains. People look at their interest before looking at the interest of the population. If you know that saying this thing is going to tamper with your interest, why will you say it? That's how some people look at it. Even those who are out there to represent the common man, they look at their interest first and look at how it's going to play down on their interest. Maybe they'll lose their contracts. You know, when you start getting some parameters are now reached because of contracts. Maybe they'll look at their contracts and every other thing before they start looking at what is goes to the local man out there. And we also talk about having connections. Another thing is about connections too. I will bet you, Leo, most of us are saying this thing here, but we are all actors pushing this factor. How do you say it? There are some of us whose kids did very poor at all the entrance examinations, but we did everything possible to get the children there. That is how those from those center and south region also do to get their children into these particular examinations. But when we come on this platform, we talk as if we are all righteous. I'm not saying anyone here, I'm just saying that sometimes we too contribute to all these things.
We've struggled and we're beaten in the game.
We struggle, and the highest bidder takes the crown home. That's why we get so angry. So we need to speak and act the way we want things to go on.
Now, should we focus on this meritocracy, Dr. Michael, or you think that we should move over to a new pitch where meritocracy should be the talk of the day, like what we observe with the Indomitable Lions, and who all that matters is the skills. Once you play so well, it is the nation that takes the glory.
I think that is how a nation is supposed to grow, that we look at merit. Because if we expect to actually talk about emergence 2035, I don't think that is in bringing a blockhead person from one village to put in one ministry that we are going to emerge in 2035. And you have realized that this issue of regional balance has brought in a lot of corruption, because at the final analysis we even realizing we are balancing the individuals and not the regions. Yes, we are balancing families, we are balancing individuals, and these families end up, getting it all from, depriving us of what we are supposed to have. I remember Charles Ateba's a famous book, Le Pays Organisateur. I know, and he had serious problem with that book, because he actually talked about those from the little few from the center, south, and all what, who are having it all, but when you get to their region, as Mr. Anglophone said, you don't find anything concrete to talk about.
A clear reflection.
A clear reflection of seeing how...
Is that not why I'm saying that regional balance should be looked at from the budgetary allocations?
It should be. Normally, the public investment budget is supposed to be the regional balance that we are talking about. Let us look at what each region wants. And that's why we even talked about the issue of federalism. It brings us back to this issue of federalism, whereby we identify the immediate needs of the people, and you don't need to go to Yaoundé to build a school in a small village. And that is where the problem is coming from. And even the issue of decentralization, if they think that is the best thing that we can have, let them be able to define it and give it a true image. I've seen this issue of regional balance. I'm saying that it's supporting individual because there are some few people in the government who are benefiting unjustly from, they are blockheads. They are like these Freemasons, The Freemasons, the Francmasonry in the world are regarded to be the highest builders. They are people construct, if you look at the effigies in the world, they are Freemasons who construct. But when you come to the level of Cameroon, those Freemasons are in Cameroon. I don't know whether they say they are just those blockhead people who only come to, they are not engineers who are able to do what the other people are doing outside. So we copy good examples wrongly, and we don't implement, because we do not have the know-how to go about it. So the issue of regional balance, to me, it should be in the public investment budget. Let us identify what each region, what each village needs, and then we should have a good policy. And a good policy can only come from, it be a political issue, like the issue of federation or decentralization, and then we put it in place, and we are able to build out our people, and let people be able to identify themselves in the development of their people, not to choose few individuals who, they take as contract, and then they swindle all the money, and all the next day you hear they are in prison. And when you hear they are in prison, you don't know where the money has gone to. That is the reflection of what we call the regional balance that we have as today. Let merit take center stage, and then we are going to emerge.
This is Mamida Prime. Sincere appreciation to you for always trying to catch up on the pertinent issues affecting the nation. I think we need a rethink in this nation. So far as many things are concerned, the government needs to know that the people matter than any office or individual decision. Thanks, our government is not serious when there are they start being serious, Cameroon will progress. This is Godwin writing from Bamenda. Many of you accuse me of not reading your message. Please, the messages are so many, you can't read all of them. Good evening, lady and wise men. I am a fervent listener of your programs. I wish you all God blesses for enlightening Cameroonians via your wonderful platform. Kazor is writing from Loom. Good evening to you, Kazor. The so-called elites are the worst people. They come to the villages overnight, corrupt some desperate and hungry people, and take useless decisions on behalf of our whole community for their own interest. There is no regional balance in Cameroon, and until the devilish system is ousted. Uncle Prince is writing from Bangen. We are watching from Biaka University Institute of Boya. Right on. Good evening to you, Mr. Singe Otto. Writing from a center of excellence, yes, par excellence. They say they want to always do things differently at the Biaka University Institute of Boya. Good evening to Madame Biaka and everybody in that institution, to Tebo and to you, Mirabel. Hello, good evening to you too. Good evening to you. This one says, the day Nigeria will achieve its freedom, Africa will be free. Lagos is the capital of Africa, and certainly that's where Cameroon will be free from tribalism, religious conflicts, and false governance. Kenyan Professor P.L.O. Lumumba predicts political reformation in Cameroon, other African countries too. The African heat for change started in Sudan and spread to Mali and has now arrived in Nigeria. It will soon arrive Cameroon, Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, and elsewhere. Young Africans are taking charge without violence. African politicians must repent. Paul is writing from Douala. Good evening to you, Paul, and to you, good evening. Mr. Leon Crew, you inspire us a lot. Cameroon has rulers, not leaders. So what we need are leaders. I knew this tax thing could not work. Cameroon is a country of coats and many colors. It's B. Rita writing from Mile 6, Mancon, Bamenda. Good evening to you, B. Good evening to all in the studio. Mr. Leo, I tire Cameroon. Our parliament is made up of very good hand clappers, so much so that anything their chairman brings forth, they woke up from their slumber and validate. I am Zantu, writing from Dubai. Good evening, Mr. Leo and the team. My problem with your debates is that they are mostly unbalanced. In a debate, we need those who are for and those who are against. Nkwine Bless is writing from Yaoundé. Nkwine Bless, I actually invite everybody. Those that make it. Okay, good evening to you all in the studio. It's my first time of listening to your program and I like it. The government is really hard on its citizens. It's not fair. Hali is writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you, Hali. Hello, Mr. Leo. Good evening. Greetings to all the panelists. We say more grace to you are able. I'm Legend Basil from Germany. Okay, we are talking about the regional balance. We saw the justification that was given against the Nordistes. How do we understand that an entire region is considered not intelligent enough to be able to reach what a single division would produce in one other region?
Yeah, there is.
This is not the first time, because I remember one time somebody like Professor Misanganyamding said that Anglophones could not pass some of these exams.
Yeah, what we had when they were talking of Anglophones, you should remember too that the exams were written in the French subsystem and manner of approach. Yeah. It was not indirectly. It will be very foolish and stupid for him to think that Anglophones are not just intelligent to pass exams, because they have been passing other powerful exams than even the exams they are writing. You cannot write an exam where the methodology of approach of questions is already fixed by one system against another system. If we are put together to do the essay writing system, which Anglophones too are highly embedded in, I don't think they will still compare in the same exams. He might have his reasons. It is the same thing we are saying, that the concept of regional balance failed. It would have been a policy of social sharing, which, if well conducted, Cameroonians would have been at ease. But since the government is unable to follow up, it has to fail. Now, when you look at it, within the northern region, Cameroon has a lot of demographic, academic, health, and whatsoever statistics, local, indigenous rights, foods, and whatsoever that keeps the people at place. We know those regions that are highly involved in education. We know where education is not even available. What will happen? If you have to take a ratio, they will tell you the ratio in the north compared with a region like the southwest region might be 3:1. So meaning when you get to the southwest, 3 children are going to school. Within the 3, only 1 is in school in the north. So it is easy that at certain level equally, like Mr. Moffat just explained, that when you go in for an exam, like you have the entrance into the ENS, Marwa, what will happen? The same regions from the south will present more candidates in the exams than even the northerners, because the certificate first required for the exam already eliminate a lot of students from the north. This equally created a lot of imbalance. And some time ago, we were told that even if allowed for exams, one region may end up picking all the positions. And we were not talking of the center. We are not talking of the east. We're not talking of the south. We are talking of the west region. These are people who have their money, and their children are placed in all the schools. Everywhere you will find them. It happened at the Cali University for Central Africa in Yaoundé, that at one concours, nearly all those who succeeded in one of the specialties were all people from the West region. It almost created the rector of that university a problem, as if he was biased to other regions. But then, it was within the Catholic domain, and that meritocracy should be given its chance. So if there are 10 Bamlekes here, and they have succeeded, meritocracy gives us a rule that they should be in for the school. If the Yaoundé or the whatsoever, the south or the northerners have not succeeded, what do you want us to do? When we go with meritocracy, meritocracy calls for a national concern, national belonging, meaning if we accept that as a rule of law, the whole nation, governance should be drafted in a way that those who merit a particular position will not develop a dam in the east. If there is no resource capable of hosting a dam, we will not develop a university in the north if we don't see the potential to receive that university.
We will not create an ocean.
In the central region, when we know there's an ocean in the southwest. These are the things, right? A seaport in the north, when we know that there's a deep seaport in Limbe.
Because
these are some of
the regional balance.
We should, so that is what I'm saying, that the national or regional balance concept can only work within regimes that are perfected and know they are capable of following up. But if we cannot, let's call a spade, and meritocracy should have its place. That there's a need for a dam in Menchum, which we know already. It is not just said that there's a need for a seaport in Limbe. Nobody would doubt about that. That the police school in Limbe, in Mutengene, came before the one in Yaoundé, and so we should perfect the police school in Mutengene. There's no need for another police school in Yaoundé. Instead, reinforce and let us know that the school in Mutengene can host all Cameroonians. This is the problem in Cameroon. That not even those who are ruling feel like one school belonging to one region will help that region and will defavor this one. They start withdrawing a lot of things. A lot of institutions that belong. Remember, I know of WADA, a quality that was in Menchum division that does not even exist today. But you talk of a lot of those things. We are here with a lot of rice mills that have been abandoned around the Sancho area, the plains of Sancho. They don't even work anything again. But we are importing billions of rice, and you go to another region, tractors at the Ministry of Agriculture were bought and stuck in a forest, where that forest cannot even cultivate, 10 bags of cocoa a season. There is a problem with Cameroon. There is a need for national concern. And if we ask that, is there a need for national concern? When you go for I don't want to get to details, when you go to the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope, it is normal that those from the Northwest region will win the race. These people live on top mountains, go down school on mountains, get to the market in the mountain, get to church on a mountain, and then you come to compare him with somebody who learns on flat terrain in Sancho to win a race. It is not said. There was no mix-up. Let's have the spirit of being a nation and not regional or whatsoever ethnicity being promoted. If we base on that, when you look at the appointment, when we carried out the United States, that is a model. People don't just appoint. When you are appointed, your candidature is stable before the parliament for scrutiny, whether this individual can handle the job. Against other, if it doesn't go, the parliament or the senate, the Congress keeps you away and asks for another new candidate. This is a nation that is built on meritocracy. It is easy for the rules. When we go, I'm telling you, from the executive to the legislative to the judiciary in Cameroon, it is not meritocracy, because even those who are executives, who do they appoint as judges? Who do they upgrade as judges? A president, a minister stays in the office and determines the decision in the hand of a judge in court. Is that meritocracy? What happens to the judicial system? Those who call, like I said at the past, legislative representative, how do they, people buy their small positions and become parliamentarian?
Okay.
Meritocracy should mean that there is a base. There should be benchmark rules for us to rule a government. If regionalization or whatever regional balance is failing, and people are proud to explain why it happened the way it did, there is a need for a total overhaul.
Okay.
So that Cameroon can proceed.
Good evening,
the next.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm Viga Fidelis watching from Omenda. I think the suspension of the tax on a mobile telephone is a good decision taken by the government of Cameroon. Good evening to you. This one says, good evening to you in the studio. I, for one, do not think there is regional balance in Cameroon. I think the government is trying its best to make the French Cameroon more valuable than the English-speaking Cameroon. I have set my own. Drummond is writing from Boya. Good evening to you, Drummond. Hello, Mr. Leo and Leonard panelists. The obligation of every reasonable citizen is to get involved in shaping national policies into context, putting the government to task. The reaction from the presidency in relation to the mobile phone tax law should give some degree of comfort to Cameroonians that their voice are increasingly being heard. Collins from Kupi, Mwanenguba. Greetings to you all in the panel. Please, meritocracy is not a topic of discussion in Cameroon. We are nursing a field future for this nation. Intellectuals are left on the streets and rich people are buying their positions, just like my brother is saying. We are balancing families and humans and not the regions. If not, you should tell me if 71% is the same as 4% in the last ENAM results. We are not serious. Dixon Tani from the University of Yaoundé 2. Now, we briefly are going to talk on the last topic for today, which has to do with the Mouvement or 10 million, the Nordistes, a new movement that actually was brought up by young Nordistes who think that their voices must be heard. Can we see in this movement another push to decry marginalization of the Nordistes? For example, what just happened during the last ENAM exams?
I, for one, think that is a pointer to actually inform the government that the people of the North are not happy. And like I said earlier, with the system of leadership in place, we are seeing chaos that is coming ahead, because that is not only going to be a reaction from the Northerners, because it had already started with the English-speaking Cameroonians. Now the Northerners are coming up with theirs. That is going to bring a situation that will not be tolerated, that will not be tolerable. I am speaking like this because when I look at the situation, Mr. Leo, of regional balances we're talking about, I get to feel like Cameroon believes in centralization so much that it does not want to liberate power to the various regions. Because if the original balance came from the perspective of, okay, we give power to the various regions, let them be able to balance their various regions, then that would be different. And meritocracy comes at the national level. So, Mr. Leo, the people of the North are actually angry. I remember when Mr. George actually started talking, he cited a situation where the people of the North they decried that the university did not take in most of their people. But it was a promise that the president made, which was supposed to be fulfilled, where 60% was supposed to actually come from the northern section of the nation. That was a promise. And so the people had to stand on that promise, expecting that it should be fulfilled. I am not sure till today it has been fulfilled. Okay. It is claimed that it is the North that actually elected our president into power, because they were the ones that majority of them actually went for the vote. Okay. And if that is the case, in one way or the other, they are reclaiming the their own share. If we elected the president into power, we also want our own share of the national cake.
Yeah. Do you make meaning out of what Professor Mark is saying, that anytime the president is elected, he gets the greatest votes from the north, and seemingly this is a time for them to remind the president that we can make Omar your future?
Yes, that is what they call clientelism in political science. Now, I've been saying here that you don't ask for what you don't deserve. You see, it's like a promise unkept. But Leo, I want to make one confession here. If I had to accept to come to this program today, was because of this particular topic, which unfortunately we are treating it last. I hope that you're going to make time again for it to be treated, because it is, you call it whether it's a blessing or a time bomb for the nation. It is neither nor.
Okay.
It is just a normal process for human articulations, whereby at some point in time a group of unorganized, even illegal structures advocate for what belongs to them. It is happening every day, anytime. And history tells us that a lot of changes, especially social and political changes, have actually occurred thanks to such extra institutional movements.
Yeah, but if things were to go the way you are saying, would it not be a blessing for the people of the north?
Well, what it's just as if it's going to be a blessing, another group of persons will also copy that example and also start using it. But is that how a country should be run, based on reactivity and based on lobby,
pressuring the government? Yeah,
because at some point all movements are born out of conflict. There are people who are because when you talk about mainstream, it means that people are marginalized. They are not where they are supposed to belong, so they want to be heard. And if you look at some movement comes up like this for a particular time, and after that, it is also a source, what they call cooptation, where you find that they become so powerful that even the political leaders look at some of the leaders now, and then decide to take the spearheaded persons, and then now the movement die. But I'm saying that it's a social reaction that comes out when a group of persons, not necessarily a political party or what you call a trade union or whatever, it is a natural reaction for people when they feel marginalized and they find no other way. Today we were talking about circulating a particular letter that it has become, when I came in here, you were clapping for that particular person. Just be waiting for the days ahead. You will see how a movement is born. You will see how, because one person ignites a particular process and start snowballing and others start following. That is how social movements are actually born and becomes a social transition. I bet you, Leo, what has been happening in Fako division, you will see that because of that one particular letter that has been circulated, you will see in the days ahead how changes will start coming. That's the responsibility of social movements. Okay.
Paddy Asanga, who is watching us from Hamburg in Germany, says Abakwa Boys merits an international stadium. Menchum merits a structural development program. The long-awaited Menchum 4 hydroelectricity project, Limbe merits a natural deep sea port that was hijacked and transferred to Kribi. Anglophones merit an Anglophone president as per the Fumban Gentleman's Agreement. Paddy Asanga, good evening to you. I hope you are going to be part of the show tomorrow when we look at this topic that I'm announcing. Tomorrow we are going to be looking at the call by Yuktabe for collaboration amongst the separatist camp, and the fact that most of these factions have turned down that plea for a collaboration, saying that he has no such authority to ask for that move. Now, when we find young people coming together under the banner of this Mouvement 11 million, irrespective of the fact that he says it is not organized, but it is led by the publisher of L'Oeil du Sahel, Gibai Gaetama. He is actually leading that movement. Is this also enough eloquent proof of the fact that the youths no longer believe the representation of their elected officials? They say, we want to talk for ourselves.
I think yes, because those from the northern region, back in the year, in the years, I would just say they're amongst the last Cameroonians to embrace civilization, and they have been somehow exploited by politicians. Politicians just wait for campaigns, for elections to come. They run into villages in the north, provide ID cards for these people and lure them to vote with a little savon and everything that they give them to vote. So with education, many youths in the northern regions are now awakened. They know what they want, they know what they should do and what they should not do. That is why we have this journalist, the publisher of L'Oeil du Sahel, who is mobilizing youths, you know, to come up and stand for what is theirs, to fight back, not to believe in all of these fake promises from politicians who come only during elections, and after elections they disappear, they come back only during the next election. I think this is going to serve like a guard, like a screen guard, to stop all of these politicians who go into the interior to deceive the population, to exploit the population. This is an awakening. I'm very proud of youths from the northern regions. I'm afraid, like you said, that in the long run, another movement will come up. Maybe the Bororos will come up tomorrow and say, we want our own thing. The pygmies too can come up and say, we are standing for our own rights. And but don't they marry this? Don't they marry? They don't. Are they not supposed to be developed? Their areas to be developed. Don't we all marry to live to have a good standard of living? It is their right. They are asking for something. They ask for change. It's their right to ask for change. But the problem is always how to go about it. I really plead that we should not get to a point where we'll have another war like what we have in the Anglophone regions. And that is why I really expect their elites to come in and work with them, so that their grievances can be pushed ahead peacefully, so that tomorrow we'll not have a situation where the government will be fighting Boko Haram in the far north, and we'll be looking at the situation of youths in the far north too. That's my worry when it comes to this issue. But I think it's the right to ask for what they think that the chief
is this a clear divide between the political elites of the north and their youth?
Yes, it is a kind of a reawakening that the youth are getting into. You know, they are reasserting their identity. And there's one time I said, the Boko Haram has come to where it is today in the north because of the politicians from the north. You know, there are people who have, for a very long time, deprived the youth of what we call a common civilization, even a common education. We look at pictures from the north, and you see the way children are educated, and I understand that the northerners are heavyweights as far as the government in Yaoundé is concerned. I mean, those are people who are in the decision-making arena in Yaoundé. And what happened is that these northerners, they want to be worshipped like gods. When they go back to their regions, they want to be worshipped like gods. So they always want to put those youths in the background, so that when they come and they're distributing those coins and 1,000 francs, they come clapping for them, and they want them to always remain to where they are. So I think that it is an era. You know, it is like the wind of change in the 1990s that blew from Western Europe. It is like a wind of change blowing to the north, and they are asking themselves, when it comes to election, these people come to us to ask for vote, and they say, we count. And he said, if you want to vote, win an election in Cameroon, you must win in the north. And they have been asking themselves. Thank God they have had young people too who have been enlightened. I mean, and we have always said, don't wait when you are old, like some of our Anglophone politicians, when they are out of government, they are retired, before they want to come and start movement. As a youth and working, I think Giba is with the National Communication Council. I think it is important that we know that when you are in a position, in a well-positioned environment, you should be able to get back and be able to awaken your own brothers, sensitize them, bring them up, and let them be able to. And another note, you know, the north and the north and the south have always been this issue of, you know, the issue of the president. They are still reminiscent of how their own son. We are still talking about the issue of regional stuff. They are still thinking of how their own son was led to leave power. I mean, in the 1980s, and it is still deep in their minds. They still think that justly the power should come back to them, and it is the beginning of something. Before you realize this thing is going to come out to be something else. See, sometimes they call this established terrorism. You know, you have a superficial idea, and then when the idea takes steam, you know, I mean, you see that other ideas take root, And two, the sponsors of these things, you can never see them now. When the real time will reach, you are going to see the real sponsor of this thing. We are not just looking at those youths. The real sponsor of this thing, the person who is beating the drum, is just beside. Is just there in the bush while the bird is dancing at the roadside. So don't look at it as you see the bird dancing. Know that the drop beater is there. So I mean, we need to understand, and the government doesn't have to take this line down. It is as a result of a failed government, because we are not supposed to be having this. If this is coming up, and people are rising up, these particular people from people are rising up and not talking about national interest, they are talking about regional interest, it means that there is something wrong. Let the government ask itself what is wrong. Because if you start solving the problem of that regional interest, then you are putting yourself into much more problem. Because the first problem you solve this problem, you are creating a much more bigger problem for you. Solve the problem of the north, the three northern regions, and then you have 7 other problems of the other regions that are going to haunt you.
Good evening, Mr. Liu and Co. The Nordistes are objective in their actions. I foresee Libya in Cameroon. I fear that a foreign power is involved in this. Remember, they lead the military. Prayers is what we need in Cameroon. Mohamedou is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening to you, my friend Mohamedou. Mr. Liu, the entire government from the head of state to all ministers needs to be evicted. The truth is that the Francophones have they lay all their emphasis for the Anglophones to bring change, meaning why they are the majority. Fred Frank writing from Mutengene. Your message is not too clear, Fred. Good evening to you, my brother. Good evening, Mr. Leo. For regional balance, each region division should be given a quota in the budget, appointment and recruitment into higher institutions of learnings, and this quota strictly respected. Wilfred writing from Kumbu. Good evening to you, Wilfred. Good evening to you all in the studio. There is no regional balance in Cameroon. The government are just doing what they know best. The rich and high-ranking personalities are just fitting their families, relatives in exams in the name of competitive exams. I don't see any need for competitive exams in the country. Meritocracy has been dashed to the banks of the river. Isketum Kenneth writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Interesting program. Meritocracy is the best. My regards to Dr. Akko. This is Adamu writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you, Adamu. And good evening, Mr. Liu. I love the program. Is Baby Milk from Bamenda, Alakuma. Good evening to you, Baby Milk. Dr. Akko. Now, could this also initiate other regions to group themselves and also asking for their interest to be respected at the level of Yaoundé?
Yeah, Mr. Leo, I don't know why this 10 million Nordist movement should even cause a problem. Within the Yaoundé government, it has been noticed that it is a government that responds only to calls from the people. Okay. Before the university in the far north, the University of Maroua was giving us a call. Before the University of Bamenda was created, it was a call from the people of the Northwest. And a lot of that, even within what we talk today, of the University of Boya, I believe the pioneer rector of the chancellor of that university will tell you that it was equally a call from the Southwest chiefs and many other elites. So it's just the normal. But one thing which I have had as a problem, when movement of this nature are being led by individuals, at times it is like an identity of the individual to tell the states that I equally need recognition. And that's why we saw with the 20 whatever movement, the G20, we have what they call the G35 movement, and at the end, all of them were compensated at their various levels for what they did, telling the power that we are for you. But as I put it, as a nationalist, we don't need people called to develop a nation. As part of good governance, a nation is supposed to be developed by those who govern. And if it is not, if we have failed somewhere, stop giving a room. There was some time in Douala, we talk of le droit des autochtones, and which means that Douala belongs to a particular group of people. And so the government came out with rules that you must not go somewhere and do certain things. So there are some quarters in Douala where the local indigents cannot even be a quarter head. What is the rule of a quarter head? A quarter head takes care of the quarter in which he or she belongs. And that whatever goes on in terms of security, such an individual, the state can even rely upon to give accountability. So in that quarter, if we have an indigent, or what they call a autochtone, who is a drunkard, he should become the quarterhead because he was hailed and born, and he's a citizen of that land. This is where governance has failed. So people know now that for us, because if I come out tomorrow and create my own party, or I create my own group, I say the 10 Anglophones for the ruling party, you will see that I will be recognized. That one is just simple. Because if we come up with a memorandum, we send it to the presidency, we are going to read it here. TVs will talk about it, and this is just an identity. Can we stop this stomach politics? And can we take the state somehow different from individual needs? We need to develop the far north. It should be an urgency. Not only the far north. Sometimes we tell the Anglophone problem, you see that government officials justify it by saying that the Anglophone problems are national problems. And so if development is a national problem, let's make development a priority in all the 10 regions.
Okay.
And I will come back, and we will not have a balance of development if we stay on with this 30, 40 years leadership, which has not changed or moved an inch.
Okay.
That they only become more powerful than the regions.
Okay, greetings, my brothers. Cameroon needs God before taking any decision. Please let us come back to God and seek for wisdom and to let this nation. Pastor Adrian, writing from Limbe. This one says, you guys are doing justice to the topics. Samuel, writing from Limbe, says, the power that be has done justice to the phone tax. Same should be done on the Enam imbroglio. Samuel, good evening to you from Limbe. Good evening. Mr. Liu, I'm really enjoying the program. You people should keep on. It's Elvis, writing from Bui Division. Good evening to you all. There is no regional balance in Cameroon. This one reads, hi, Mr. Liu. Greetings to you all there. I'm enjoying the program. May God help us all. Akaya Godwin, writing from Bomenda. Good evening to you guys in the studio, especially to you, Mr. Leo. Thanks for making us know more about the country. My family can't just stop watching your program. Glenn, writing from Upstation, that should be in Bomenda. This one says, regional balance is not respected in our country. Mr. Leo, explain it to those who matter. Good evening, Mr. Leo. The regime failed since 1982. We need change. Wanji, writing from Limbe. Good evening to you all. Lovette from Tico. You people are doing a great job there. More grace to you all. Thank you. Lovette, greetings, Mr. Liu and panelists. Nepotism, tribalism and the scheming of the ruling party is what is destroying this private estate of a country. Chair Socrates, writing from Boya. Emmanuel Ebwe, writing from Tole, says, good evening, Mr. Liu and all the panelists. When Prof. Lambi wanted to practice meritocracy during the intake in the Faculty of Health in UB, he was fired for not practicing regional balance because it favored Anglophones. Why was the director of ENAM not fired? Greetings to all the peace-loving people of Tole. Good evening to you, Emmanuel. Change depends not only on the top personnel in an organization, but rather change development at times also depends on the initiative of a common man. Okay, this one reads, the regional balance, that is a way which the government wants to promote peoples to overtake their way. And Figure, writing from Kumbo. Also, good evening to the panel. I think the regional balance should be maintained and the best for each region should be selected according to the percentage allocated to them. Remember, there is still exists the best loser. So no matter what, if Littoral region is supposed to have 2 candidates, let it be so, as those candidates must not attain the average as required, but as per the regional balance, it should be respected. Diaby is writing from Boya. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I would to thank all of you there in the studio for your brilliant contribution. I'd like to say that Cameroon is a country in which more than 90% of its policies are not implemented. Sylvans, writing from where we don't know. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu, and everybody. I hail you so much for your wise contribution. Cameroon is sick. Greetings to my brother Mike and Dimancho. Kiming Derek, writing from Boya. Mr. Leo, regional balance is not applicable in Cameroon, so it should be stopped. 2 regions had 76% and the others 8 regions had 24 for Enam. Nivik is writing from Bamenda. Okay. Jonah also writing from Amena, say good evening, Mr. Leo. There can never be regional balance in Cameroon. You see, national documents where only Republic of Cameroon and Peace Walk Fatherland are translated in English. Will you expect anything physical balance? Not at all. Okay, we have to end at this juncture. We want to say thank you to you, George, Mr. Mofo, for coming and participating in today's edition of the program.
Thank you, Leo. I just have this quotation to share with the viewers to let them know that happiness is an attitude and not an achievement. So we don't stress ourselves thinking that some other person will change us. Make yourself happy and reduce your stress.
Okay, we equally want to say thank you to you, Professor Mark Anthony.
Thank you, Leo, and I want to say good evening again and stay connected to my media prime. As many of you watching us, stay connected to this TV because this is one of the best and the most educative in Cameroon so far.
We want to say thank you to you, Mani Kiven Brenda.
Thank you very much. I like the way you always mention my title. It's a blessing anyway. I want to extend special greeting to my maths teacher from 5, from 1 to from 5, Mr. Lavelle Francis, who has been watching the program through from the start. Thank you very much, sir. And also to all those who were watching us from their homes. See you next time on this program.
Okay. Thank you to you, Dr. Michael Dimancho.
Thanks so much, Leonard. It's once more a pleasure, and just to tell Cameroonians, when you think that a particular thing has been given to you as a blessing, after you reflect and ask yourself, what is a blessing?
Okay. And to you, Dr. Ako John Ako, thank you for coming.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine when always called to duty, and I still insist that the opinion that we express here is for the better of Cameroon and not for our betterment, because Cameroon is a nation for all, and that we will soon pass away, but Cameroon will eternally surely remain. Okay.
Tomorrow in the program we are going to be discussing the call by Ayuk Tabe Sisiseko, who is locked up at the Kondenge prisons in Yaoundé. We call for collaboration amongst the separatist camp. We have heard other activists saying that he has no such authority to call for collaboration, and we even have persons who have written from the prisons questioning his motives and intentions. We equally are going to be looking at the strike situation of CDC workers who have gone for 19 months without salary. We're going to be asking why the government is not stepping in to save the situation of the CDC, knowing fully well that the government has been assisting every year to the cotton in the North region, and we've seen the billions that government doles out to assist Cameco. Why not the CDC? We want to thank the production team, Desmond, and to everybody, to you, Christian, and Eli, who is producing the program, and to you, Tambe Bryant, who is supervising our work. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.